Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today we're talking about episode 2 of Farscape. Before we get started, we need to mention that the original US air dates differ from the UK air dates, and there's a slightly different content in the UK stuff as well. So you might not have this in the same order that I do. Anyway, we're going by the US air dates on this in these reviews. Exodus from Genesis lets us and Crichton actually in on details about Moya and her crew and solidifies what Crichton's worth is to the others by the end of the episode. It begins with Moya hiding behind space debris to avoid being detected by a peacekeeper Marauder, a ship that carries elite commandos. Moya seems to have lucked out, but in the space debris, what Crichton later describes as space roaches infest Moya and endangers her cooling system. We find that there's a danger to Sebaceans like Aaron and other peacekeepers if they get too hot. They're cold-blooded. There are 3 phases. Phase 1 is they lose short-term memory. Phase 2, they have delirium. And Phase 3, all memories are wiped out. And it's what they call living death. Most Sebaceans would prefer death and normally would be granted just that by their family or friends. Moya, too, can be affected by the heat. We find that it's difficult for pilot to be able to monitor the systems. So this is a difficulty in detecting what the problem is that has to be done by the individuals. So everyone else is basically trying to understand where the invaders are, where they're coming from, and what they want. Anyway, through Zan, they communicate that they're just looking for a place to lay eggs and then leave because they exist in space, which is cold, not warm. But they need warmth in order to be able to lay their eggs and have increased the temperature aboard Moya to do that. So Crichton negotiates with them, saying that they could have a ceasing of hostilities, let them lay their eggs and get out of the way, and they won't be bothered. And for that, they are locked into Crichton's quarters until they're done. And the problem comes here, of course, is that they are boarded by peacekeepers. Then time for Rigel to use his negotiating skills to say it's not them that's done it, but rather other people have come aboard and they need to be released in order to be able to take care of the peacekeepers. They do that by making sure Crichton says, no, don't bring the cooling down, bring the heat up, and that will affect the peacekeepers as well as it has Aaron. Meanwhile, we have a situation where Zan is trying to keep Aaron cool by running water over and things like this. So by the end of this episode, we know that Crichton is a valuable member of the crew for his ability to fight and also his ability to come up with novel ideas that are useful in negotiating or negotiations. The major reason the Henson Company wanted to do this series was to show what they were capable of doing more than Fozzie Bear and Miss Piggy. They found out early what a challenge that's going to be. The idea of using puppets and animatronics at the same time that you have human actors, not just standing behind the counter with you, but actually in action sequences, puts a whole different dimension. It's very expensive and very complicated. On a cable network budget and the schedule they had in order to do these shows, they didn't have the time or the money to do many shows like this one. So the Drac creatures themselves, they were expensive to build, and they had all kind of wires that moved parts of them and moved them around, and all that had to be painted out. The Terra set used at the end of the episode was only used this one time because it was so difficult to get the mats proper for the different shots on it. And once again, taking time. And then the CG Rigel actually walking. The walking part was very time-consuming and expensive to do. So that's the only time we ever show him walking in full figure. So they also introduced the Dentic. It's a bug of some kind that cleans teeth. I think this is the first time and the only time they've ever done a close-up of it. Once again, it really wasn't important to know exactly what it was, just what it did. One thing I didn't mention last week, though, was the maintenance droids. They call them DRDs. They haven't been identified the dialogue yet, but there are thousands of them, it appears, that would clean up and do some minor repair things. They look to be independent, but probably are mostly controlled by the pilot. We start to see Crichton's sense of humor here through cultural metaphors that tend to go over the head of his shipmates. They seem to think that he's an idiot, and he doesn't seem to be fazed by the fact they don't understand what he's talking about most of the time. We also see a number of curses by Rigel that are suggested by context. This was something we first saw in Battlestar Galactica back in the 70s. They've made a fine art of that. Rigel has most of them. Most everybody else uses 2 or 3, and that's enough to make it realistic enough, I suppose. Anyway, that's what we think about this. The acting is good. It's funny and suspenseful and action-packed, and the chemistry is good between all of the actors. I'm out of town this week with this video, so we'll not be visiting with Professor O later this week or reviewing the first episode of Starfleet Academy just yet. We'll wait until next week when we're back and do all of that. So we hope that you'll join us then. And before you go, if you will, consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber, and click a like if you would. That would be nice. So thank you for joining us. Till next week, don't go far.